Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. This is the Raging Verbalist. This is number 93. Who would have thought it? So many few, I don't know how many ever months ago it was. Who would have ever thought so? And with me, as always, is the lovely Sandra to balance this out, to make sure that your voice is heard. And if you have questions or anything that you want to actually ask me, you should actually go to Position to Win book on Facebook group and ask and be nice. And Sandra will then collect those, and then we will carefully read them over and then shred them and move on from there. So anyway, welcome, Sandra.
Hello. How are you?
Good. I'm ready to shred. So anyway.
Right. Burn the hard drives. Get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's always funny when people are so surprised that, that their hard drive craps out at some point in time. And having sold that kind of technology forever, I mean, long ago when it was brand new, is that everybody was so paranoid they backed up all the time. And as they became more reliable, everybody was like, it's gonna be okay. So it's coming for you. Anyway, that isn't our topic for today, but it was a little aside. So what are we talking about today? What's going on, Sandra?
All right. So what are some of the winds blowing that are affecting businesses today?
Now, for those of you who don't know, this is we've dubbed this the Cat 5 hurricane of business. And there happens to be a hurricane that's blowing around right now. And, everybody who's out there, I am very sympathetic if you are dealing with that kind of situation. So this is our disclaimer. We're talking about the hurricanes that blow over businesses and knock them, not physical ones, but, these are the things that happen. So hopefully that's enough of a disclaimer and you got it, right? You got it. This is a metaphorical Cat 5 business hurricane. So what are some of the winds that are blowing affecting business today? One of the biggest things is uncertainty. And as I talk to clients, as I try to get things done, there is a great deal of uncertainty, not only in the US, but globally. And a lot of that has to do with the pandemic. A lot of that has to do with what's going on, are we going to have travel restrictions, not have travel restrictions? Are we going to be forced to have, bring our little vaccine card so we can show somebody this? Or not. I mean, so that means you can't get a bag of, onion rings without showing that. All of those things that are uncertain. And for those who are in New York, I understand that New York is going to turn every restaurant into a certain level of, policing to make sure that nobody comes in without having been vaccinated. And all I can say is that uncertainty absolutely drives businesses crazy because, what you want to do is you want to do your business. You don't want to do all of these other kind of nutty things that people are talking about doing. So that's some of the stuff that's going on, and that uncertainty doesn't help business one little bit. That's what I think is one of the winds that's blowing out there is the uncertainty wind, and especially how many months are we down the road on this thing? Many, many months, and the longer uncertainty is out there, the less people will actually act and do what they need to do.
So what's another wind that's out there?
Well, another wind that's out there is that, especially when you're trying to find somebody to come and work for you and get some things done and if you're in the mode of trying to grow, is that it's very hard to find people. In fact, we have a project that we're involved in, and our crack recruiter, and no, I won't say her name for fear that somebody will swoop in and get her, but our crack recruiter called 198 potential people, 198. And we ended up having 2 real interviews. Now, it isn't because we're not paying any money. It's just the fact that, this whole holdback, and especially, if you can sit on your duff and not have to work very hard and get the old eagle landing, actually the real statement is, will the eagle, shit on you today with money is the whole point of it. And not a pretty thought, but as long as you're getting the cash, I guess it's enough. So that's hurting businesses a lot. I see business after business has signs, they're looking for people. And that is actually a big negative, because nobody wants to really try to grow their business if they can't find people to actually get the work or get the work done and do the work.
So with that, does remote work help?
Now, of course, Sandra is not saying that because I'm one of the authors of Remote Work for a Better World. We're not shamelessly slipping the plug in there, but we are going to talk about remote work. And the reason why, by the way, for those of you who don't maybe not know, the reason why I really got into the whole writing that book about remote work with Gabe Batista, my co-author, co-conspirator, business partner, and a crew of other people, is that I have been doing remote work and helping businesses do virtualization, which is really what it is. Before, remote work just sounds kind of a new thing, for a long time. And remote work helps. In fact, we wouldn't have Sandra with us today if we had the old kind of mindset where you have the big giant steam engine and everybody gathers around the steam engine every day, and we sing a company song and do all that stuff. So what you do is remote work helps out a lot, because you can find somebody talented like Sandra and have her work long distances away and get a lot of things done. Now, I have to tell you that most people will do it wrong, and they will complain incessantly. And a couple of real quick tips. One is that you have to make sure that you develop a communication style. And the next thing is that you have to find a way to capture the information that you need and pass it back and forth. I have done calls with Fortune 100 companies, and my team, our side, was very organized. Their side, not so much. In fact, some of the people who were on the call didn't even know who was who and what was what. Not in good form. So remote work helps a little bit. In fact, to help you get better at it, go to Amazon exclusively on Kindle for Remote Work for a Better World. Hey, it's only 99 cents. You get at least one idea worth a buck. I mean, it's not like going out and getting a cheap spatula at the Dollar General store or something, and all that. But yeah, it's out there.
Even a stimulus check would cover 99 cents.
Even a stimulus check. There you go, Sandra.
All right, so moving on. Why use the idea of a hurricane for business?
Well, I thought it was appropriate because of doing all these turnarounds. And when you do a turnaround, if you've not experienced one, and most people have not, because usually what happens is they're getting just torn apart in their business, and the business goes out of business. And I've spent a lot of my career not only learning about why businesses succeed, but most of the time people never read about why businesses fail, because once you start reading about why businesses fail, you can actually do something about it, not just be one of the many casualties that goes on out there. So I like the idea of a hurricane, because right now we have some massive issues that are going on in not only the US, but globally. And most people need to think in terms of being a turnaround, help turn yourself around, turn your business around. Couple of things that you need to keep in mind. Number one is, do not count on having lots of excess resources. I bet by how about like 99.999, 5 nines of people who think, wow, if I just had more money, I'd have more resources and everything would be good. Get that out of your head, figure out how to do it with less. And then when that money shows up, you'll be in a much better position. Number two is that you don't have time. That means you have to actually get off your rear end and go get something done. Putting things off is a bad idea, especially in a turnaround, because time is the enemy. Time is inexorably linked to your success. And if you wait too long, you will wake up and you'll be in worse shape. And the third thing is that you need to actually think about having a plan. And most people don't have a really good idea of having a plan. Now, having said that, I can tell you that there are lots of ways to get information. Now, one of the ways you can do it, one of the things that you might do is you might, in fact, go, and there's some great free resources at positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Also, you can go and you can pick up, of course, our book right there. And this is it right here, physical. We now have them back in stock. So if you want me to sign one, I will. And that's most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. And I mean that. It usually takes people 3 to 5 years before they got to throw in the towel because they burned through everybody's money, including their own and their family and their friends and their, whoever. Don't want to do that. So you want to position yourself to win, and go check that out. Available at Barnes and Noble. And hang on, I noticed we have a little bit of a kookiness. There we go. Oh, now I'm right side away. Gotta love technology. So you go to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books A Billion, wherever books are sold. Also, you can go to our website, positionwinbook.com. And since we're at it already, you can also pick up a remote work at Amazon. Make sure you show that, John, and go check it out. Also, go to the like button for the Raging Verbalist, or subscribe, and get to see this all the time. And away we go. Now, having said that, let's get into maybe the more happy side of this thing. But I just want everybody to make sure that you understand that there are forces that are out there that are going to tear your business apart, and you are responsible for making sure that doesn't happen.
So how do you deal with all of these various forces happening all the time?
Well, one of the most important things you can do is you have to understand that waiting for things to calm down before you take action is almost a certainty to watch your business just collapse and get blown apart. You have to be willing to dive in, even in the midst of the chaos and the crisis and what's going on. The other thing is that you need to sort things out. You need to say, so what is, and I'll give you 3 steps to this. What is vital? What is important? What is nice to have? Now, you don't start by asking yourself, hey, what's vital? What you do is here's the method, is you take all the things that have to be done, usually a lot more than you have time for, and start writing all these things out. Dump it out of your head, lean over, boom, 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 get them out of your head, all those things out of your head. And then sit down and look at those and ask yourself, is this vital? Vital means that if you don't do it, catastrophic things are going to happen. Bad mojo, bad things. Important is that, you can't ignore it forever. So you got to get it done. And then nice to have is someday when we have extra time, extra resources, extra money, and we can leisurely do it, you can do that. Now, here's the sad news. I've just given you a huge insight. In my experience, every single turnaround I've ever done is everyone gets it the opposite way. They invert it. They go, wait a second. I want to do all these nice to have things. If you're sitting there looking at your business and saying, hey, maybe I should come up with a new color scheme, or maybe I should get a better logo, or maybe I should, all nice to have, all really cool stuff. But what you really need to do is you got to go out and make more money. So get your head wrapped around that you got to make more money, and you have to do it today. So go through that, write all the tasks out, and then put, this one's vital, this one's important, this one's nice to have. Focus and work on the vital. Put more of your energy, put 80% of your effort on the vital, and you will have a much, much, much better chance of survival by doing it that way.
And so why is it so hard for businesses, business owners or entrepreneurs to see the issues and problems?
Well, when you live with something, there's a couple of things that happen. When you live with something and you get that shock happening to you on a regular basis, it's easy to become overwhelmed and then immobilized and then kind of blinded. So you become overwhelmed, immobilized, and blinded, and you can't really see what's going on. So my suggestion, my belief is that what you always have to do is make sure that you sit down on a regular basis. I don't know if you want to do it every day. I would encourage you to do it, but every day to sit down and look these things over. What do we have going on? What's taking place? How do I make sure that I do those important things, those vital things, and make sure that those things get done? And the reason why it's so hard to do it is that it's easy to get overwhelmed. I can assure you that whenever you step into a turnaround, there is more to do than there will ever be time to do, which is why we have to do a triage. Triage isn't where everybody gets wonderful everything and everything, all this care. Triage is that those who are going to die, who we can save, get saved. This is why when you're sitting there looking at a business, sometimes things just have to go. Things just have to be removed. It's a hard decision. We get emotionally attached to things that we have been doing for a period of time. And this is where you get suckered into, well, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to still do this. And I think I can have my cake and eat it too. Focus is knowing what you should be working on versus what you want to be working on.
All right. So having done over 30 turnarounds, what are some of the things that people can look for to make sure that they make it through to the other side?
Well, I think the first, I think it's a great question, and I'm going to give some rapid fire answers because I want people to know that I care. I really care about what you're going through. By the way, if you need additional help, we're here to do that. But what I'm going to tell you right now that you need to do is first and foremost, decide if you really want to still be in this business. And it's almost like question number 0, because once you make that decision, you have to have what is called a made up mind. If you have a mind that says, I'm going to be tenacious, I'm going to fight my way through it, I'm going to do whatever it's going to take, but it always has to start that you can't have one foot out the door. When I'm doing a turnaround and somebody comes up to me, like usually the staff of one of my clients, and says, John, I don't know if this thing is going to make it or not. I don't know if I'm going to, I'm feeling nervous. I've talked it over with my spouse. I've talked it over with my, priest or rabbi or whoever, and I'm a little bit concerned. What do you think? And I say, listen, if you have one foot out the door, you're out the door. And now that's tough because lots of times people don't want to hear that. What they want to do is they want to hear, it's going to be okay. And let me burp you and let me do this stuff. And all I'm going to tell you is, well, bullshit. If you're out the door, you're out the door. And you have to get your head wrapped around that because that is so critical that you focus on what you can really do. So one of the things you have to do is question 0, do you still want to do it or not? Now, I can tell you, having gone through 2 bankruptcies, not fun, in less than a year and a half of each other, I can tell you, not fun at all. But what you realize is that once you make that decision, once it is time to make that decision and go, you got to go. And once you go, there's no turning back. You cannot unring that bell. You cannot undo it. And you have to suffer the slings and arrows. Now, it isn't like it's some walk in the park. So if anybody sits there and tells you, oh yeah, go do that. No, I had to make a very, very difficult decision. And that decision was that I needed to get out. So my answer to question 0 was there was no path to staying around. There was only a path to ending it. And end it, I did. So yeah, that's question 0. Question number 1, after we've now committed ourselves to being in this, is that you have to understand that you are going to get buffeted. That's the wind thing again, rained on, spit on, you name it. It's all going to happen. And what you have to do is you have to do a really important thing. And this may sound a little counterintuitive, is that you have to know that life is a blood sport in business. It is a blood sport. I'm sorry. I know that for some of your sensitivities, for some of that whole altruistic, we're all going to get together, I'm adding value to the world. Well, that's great. But I'm going to tell you how to survive this thing. And what I need you to do is I need you to say, look, I'm going to be tenacious. I'm going to make it through this. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to acknowledge that this is a blood sport. And more importantly, is that I'm not going to take this personally. I had people do things to me, not physically, but do things to me financially, which frankly, I look at and go, wow, what jerks, what absolute assholes, what people are, But you know what? You got to let it go, because if you don't let it go, I've met people who are still arguing and in pain and upset over something that happened decades ago. I mean, I can chronicle these things for you. In fact, part of my speaking about these things, part of that not being this guy who sits there and always paints the rosy picture, is because I learned how to survive and I learned how to thrive and make this work, which is really my education that I got to be able to go out and do turnarounds. So that's we have question 0 is make sure you really want to stay in this thing. And question 1 is that I'm going to accept that it's a blood sport, but I'm not going to take it personally. Whatever people are going to do to me, I don't want it. You can't take it personally, because if you do, it will chew you up and spit you out. And because of time, I'm going to give you one last one. There's more. There's more. And that is number 2 is you always have to ask yourself, when you're fighting a battle, when you're fighting a situation where it looks like it's not going to go your way, is you want to ask yourself, is this the hill I'm going to die on? Because it is better to retreat and live to fight another day than to, in fact, dig in and say, I'm going to dig in and be as tough as I possibly can. You know, I said before we had to be tenacious. I said before we had to have a lot of stamina. I said before that we had to be willing to put in the effort. But what I can tell you right now is that if in fact you get so wrapped up in that, that what you do is you miss out that, you know what, you have to be very careful. Is this the hill you want to die on? Because if it is, then, you know, there could be an issue, because you might. And I don't mean die physically, but I'm saying, you know, business goes, you go, whatever happens. And that is tough for people to accept, because one of the things that I learned from playing poker professionally is that when that hand is over, win, lose, or draw, it's in the past, it's history. You can't affect its outcome. And if you have a bad hand and this is not the hill you're going to die on, you dump the hand and you move on, because you want to survive to fight another day. If you do those simple things, I think that you will improve your chances of success and go through that. And what you'll find out is that you'll experience that, yes, I am going through the hurricane, a Cat 5 hurricane for business, but I am finding a way to inch my way along and make it to the other side. If you do that, you'll be successful. If you do that, you will get to that next and bigger and better point, which is how to make it to the other side where it gets calm and we get to a different place where business can grow again to the point where you can then make money. Do that, you'll be, I think, successful in life. And with that, I want to thank Sandra, who has come on, of course, and she's there to help you. So go to Position to Win Book Facebook group, and you can go and chat and talk to her. Also, you can go to positiontowinbook.com, and there's a bunch of free stuff. You can take the positioning quiz. If you've never taken the positioning quiz, I think it will kind of open your eyes. Here's the best part about this quiz: you can't fail at it. So if you have test anxiety, this is the best test you could ever take. You can't make a mistake. I don't know. There's probably somebody out there who's going to prove me wrong, because Murphy's always out there. And then finally, of course, we have the YouTube channel with the Raging Verbalist. And what I do is I ask you that every single week that you understand that my goal, my sense, is to give you real, heartfelt, hard-hitting information that you can use to become more successful in your life, more successful in your business, more successful in your career, and more successful in the dreams and aspirations that you have. And hopefully we have accomplished just that. So I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, for myself and for the ever lovely Sandra. This has been the Raging Verbalist number 93.